Columbia Heights is a first-ring working-class suburb northeast of Minneapolis. Womianki, Poland is a first-ring working-class suburb northwest of Warsaw. In Womianki, there's a street named Passage Columbia Heights. And in Columbia Heights, there's a playground named Womianki Park. More than 4,600 miles apart, and with an ocean in between, these two communities are sister cities. While their sister city relationship was formally established in 1991, seeds for the partnership were planted over 60 years ago. It was July 1944, during World War II, and German forces had occupied Poland for almost 5 years. Millions of Polish citizens, both Jewish and Christian, had been murdered or imprisoned by the Nazis. Anxious to liberate their own capital city, the Poles took up arms against their Nazi oppressors. On August 1, 1944, the Warsaw Uprising started. It involved approximately 50,000 Polish Home Army fighters. On September 18th, a flight of 110 B-17 Flying Fortresses of the 8th U.S. Air Force took off from East Anglia, England, carrying supplies to Warsaw on a mission called Frantic 7. The mission dropped 1,170 containers of weapons, ammunition, medical supplies, and food over Warsaw. Among the Frantic 7 flight was a B-17 from the 390th Bomber Group named I'll Be Seeing You. The pilot was Francis Akins from Derry, Pennsylvania. His crew on his 15th mission is shown in this photo taken during training. In the front row are Sergeant Frank DeSills, the engineer and top turret gunner, Sergeant Walter Shimshock, tail gunner, Sergeant Paul Haney, waist gunner, Sergeant Marcus Shook, radio operator, Sergeant Vince Stefanik, the original waist gunner for this crew, but he was on a different plane during this mission. Behind them are Flying Officer Eli Berenson, navigator, Second Lieutenant Forrest Shaw, co-pilot, Second Lieutenant Myron Merrill, bombardier, and First Lieutenant Francis Akins, the pilot. Not shown in the photo are Sergeant George McPhee, the ball turret gunner, and Sergeant James Christie, a ground crew member who was also aboard. Of the 110 B-17s on the mission, the I'll Be Seeing You was the only one shot down by the Germans. 3 of the crew bailed out before the plane exploded over German-occupied Dziekanów-Leżny Forest near Womianki, a town about 9 miles northwest of Warsaw. As the 3 parachuted to Earth, they were fired upon by German ground forces. But all 3 of them, Mark Shook, James Christie, and Walter Shimshock, made it to the ground alive. Mark Shook sustained several bullet wounds from the German gunfire, and Walter Shimshock suffered a broken leg. Mark Shook and James Christie were imprisoned for the duration of the war. 19-year-old Walter Shimshock, a Polish-American from northeast Minneapolis, was interrogated by the Nazis. Then he was executed, according to some eyewitnesses, because of his Polish heritage. After 63 days of fighting, the Warsaw Uprising was crushed. Over 200,000 Poles died. Hitler was furious over the Polish rebellion and ordered the entire city of Warsaw obliterated. Later, the Soviets advanced on Warsaw, took the city from the Germans, and set up their own communist government. Under communism, public discussion of the heroic effort by the Poles and the sacrifice made by the American flyers was suppressed until the coming of glasnost and perestroika in the mid-1980s. During all that time, the Poles never forgot the brave flyers that dropped supplies to them during the Warsaw Rising of 1944. In 1986, at Kielpin Cemetery, where 2,500 Polish war heroes are buried, the citizens of Womianki erected a memorial to honor the American crew of I'll Be Seeing You. An American flag flies above the 9-foot-tall granite monument, which includes a bronze replica of the airplane. It lists the names of the crew members and bears the inscription, "To commemorate the heroic crew, bringing help to fighting Warsaw with the U.S. Air Force aircraft Boeing B-17G, I'll Be Seeing You, that was shot down by German artillery on September 18, 1944, over Dziekanów-Leżny, the people of Womianki. It was the first monument in Poland to honor American soldiers of World War II. Each year, on the first Sunday after September 18th, the citizens of Womianki hold a formal memorial service for the American flyers who tried to help them. In 1989, a committee was formed in Columbia Heights, Minnesota, to determine if it should have a sister city. Walter Szymczak's brother, Columbia Heights resident Bernie Szymczak, suggested Womianki, Poland as a sister city because of the World War II connection. Womianki city officials were approached and a formal agreement was signed in 1991. Every year since then, Columbia Heights residents have attended and participated in the American Flyers Memorial Service.